Welcome back, Tributes, to episode 78 of Into the Arena. I'm Holly,
I'm Emily.
and we're back with another character episode for y'all. Today, if you're watching, you can see us in our beautiful pink for Tigris Snow.
We didn't coordinate, by the way. I feel like we never do, and somehow we're always at the same vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Red last time, pink this time. We'll see what next time will be. But today is all about Tigris Snow. I guess we can just dive right into today's episode. We obviously, pre-ballad, we didn't know Tigris. There wasn't much to go off of because we know her from Mockingjay originally. However, when we got ballad, we found out that Tigris happens to be President Snow's cousin. Did we find that out before the book came out?
No, that was a
Okay.
surprise while reading. Let's first talk about Tigress when we see her in Mockingjay. Thinking back all the way to reading that book, do you know what your first thoughts were when the character appeared?
I didn't really think much of her, but what I did think of her, I thought she was kind of standoffish. I thought she was like very quiet and just, I didn't really think much of her. I kind of thought that she more so had done the cosmetology things that had happened to her. I, at the time, thought that it was because she wanted to look that way, and it was like something that like she wanted to do for the Capitol, and that was inspired by her name, or maybe she changed her name and was really inspired by
Mm-hmm.
tigers or something and cats. And so when Ballad happened, that completely changed. But that was my initial thought. I was kind of weirded out by her character, I guess. And I thought
Yeah.
more capital of her.
I thought it was really cool that we got to see a capital character. I mean, there had been some that had left to be in District 13, but clearly they had like switched sides. But seeing someone who was still living in the capital, it was definitely clear that there was more to her story. I feel like she
Yeah.
was an interesting character, but we just assumed, we'll never get any more info on the background of that. It almost seems a little obvious that Tigress could make a reappearance because looking back, she's definitely one of
Mhm.
those characters. Even though she's so small, there was clearly more backstory too. I just never thought that we would get it.
I know. But it's so true because going back and reading it, like you said, there is just so much, like, of any character, it would be her to pick because she kind of is left so open. And so I think that's so interesting because I never thought about it that way. It's just crazy to me. And I think if the story were to continue, I could always see it being about Coriolanus, but from Tigris's perspective,
hmm
I think would be really cool.
Well, the thing is, even though there were a lot of questions unanswered with Tigress and Mockingjay, I feel like Ballad didn't actually answer those questions. It just created
Yeah.
more questions.
And so that's why I think there's
So,
going to be another book. So that's me.
okay,
I'll push
I
that
don't think
forever.
so, but
I'll push it forever. But
Suzanne.
because we need to know why she ended up the way she is, because before we recorded this, I watched and then like listened to the scene from Mockingjay and then Mockingjay Part 2. And after doing my research on Tigris and Ballad, who is known as like this genuinely kind to everyone, so soft and sweet and delicate and like giving of a person. And like it's not that Tigris and Mockingjay isn't giving because she gives them
hmm
a place to stay, but she's just so much colder. And like I feel like if I had seen young Tigris interact with a young Katniss Everdeen, I think it would be completely different. So I want to see that character arc and how we get to that point.
Yeah, I feel like she seems mistrusting, much more cautious.
Yeah.
Whereas even Snow in Ballad talks about how she could easily be abused because of how just open and trusting and accepting she is, which I think is what ends up happening. Okay, just for the record, do you think that Suzanne knew when writing Mockingjay that Snow and Tigris were related?
No, I think she had no idea.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say that she did know, but that's one of the
I,
things that you think she just kind of fabricated for the story.
well, I don't know because like you said, now she has so much open-endedness to her character that, like, she kinda had to have known. I don't know what I
Yeah,
think.
it's interesting that because we don't get any answers in Mockingjay in that scene.
Mhm.
I guess when I first read it, I took it as, oh, we're getting a look at a random capital citizen who has been involved in the games, but like it ended up being hurtful to them. Like I thought there was
Yeah.
a lot of value reading Mockingjay, seeing a random capital citizen. And for me, I kind of don't like the fact that Tigris is related to Snow. I liked reading in Mockingjay just a glimpse at a capital citizen who lives in the capital and has been affected by Snow in a bad
Mhm.
way. And that there
Yeah.
are people in the capital who want to switch sides and maybe even seeing more of why,
Mhm.
because we do see capital citizens who have switched sides in District 13, but like Cressida, we don't really know why. She's
Yeah.
just a good person, I guess.
Yeah. And then when Katniss describes her in Mockingjay, Tigris can hold so much revenge and like hold so much vengeance for the capital. And I
Mm.
thought that that was interesting too, because is Cressida just like a nice person? Are these people like, why are they choosing to be on against President Snow and against the Capitol? I thought that that was really interesting because Katniss really emphasizes that if you go back and read that section. Like she's really dark about Tigris in
Hmm.
that sense.
And even in the book, we don't know why she is removed from society, really. In the book, it's
Yeah.
a lot more vague. In the movie, they added that line that Tigress says about Snow deciding she wasn't pretty enough anymore. Whereas
Mhm.
that's more just perception in Katniss's mind in the book. Oh, this must have been what happened. She did too many surgeries and turned into this person that even the Capitol didn't want to be around or see.
Which is why I want to know what happens to her because there's so much to the canon that it could be any way. It could be that she wanted to do those surgeries, and it could be that she didn't want to do those surgeries, and it could be that Snow did this to her, that she was. I have like a crazy headcanon we'll share at the end, but
Okay. I think one thing going back and reading all of Tigris's moments in the book, I was just kind of overwhelmed by how much of it is just domestic and how much she just is taking care of things. Like, I mean, I already
mhm.
knew that, but just reading only those parts with Tigris through the whole book for this episode, that's like all her character is really. I mean, she's a
Yeah.
kind person and she's generous and she tries not to be judgmental, but every single scene she's always doing something for the family. She's always cooking or she's cleaning, she's like taking care of people. It's all domestic. It just makes me
Yeah.
think that that's all their relationship is really based on, her and Coriolanus. And once he has some level of like power and wealth again, like what does he really need Tigris for?
That's so true. That's
Like
really
I
true.
feel like that's probably why their relationship fell apart because it was really based on nothing other than her being a provider for him and kind of a mother surrogate figure.
Well, I was thinking about it and like I haven't read the play Coriolanus, but I was kind of going through the character list and kind of comparing because we know that there is like Volumnia and we know that there's Dr.
Hmm.
Gall and we know that there's Coriolanus and then we know that there's like other characters that represent other characters. And so I was like looking into it and I think that talking about like what role does Tigress play in this story and like why is she included? I think she could have been a character named Valeria, who pretty much is described as like a loyal friend and like a confidant to Coriolanus. And she kind of
Hmm.
like acts as like a compassionate woman, is what she's described as. She's supportive and loyal, and she's the one who not only interacts with him in that sense, in a domestic and mother-ish maternal way, she does it to kind of act like that angel devil on the shoulder, telling him, hey, maybe you should question the authority of what's going on here and how you're acting, and starts to question him when he falls apart in act 3. I thought that that was really interesting how she to me also symbolizes this kind of like angel on his shoulder saying go this way, do the right thing, and he
Hmm.
obviously leads the other way.
And I feel like the movie does that even more. I was
Yeah,
surprised that in
absolutely.
the book it wasn't as much as I remember, because in the movie they added that scene, which is probably my favorite movie moment of Tigris's, after Koryo comes back from being in the arena and she's
Hmm.
very straightforward with him about like who she saw his father to be and like who he can be, and telling him straight up, no, like you're good, like you can be good, you are good. Whereas
Yes,
it's never that direct in the book. I think she's a little bit more naive feeling in the
agreed.
book. Whereas in the movie, it's almost like she does believe he's good, but I think she sees the potential for him
Hmm.
to go another way and is really trying to urge him in that direction, which is a change in the movie that I like.
Yeah, definitely. Which I guess we can talk about like our favorite book and movie
Yeah. Like,
moments.
what's your favorite movie scene?
My favorite movie scene is when they're walking up the stairs together. I think it's just that like one scene. I know it's like the wakey wakey part. And I know it's a
Yeah.
short little section that we
It's
get.
a visual moment.
You see them standing tall and confident together in a way that I don't think they necessarily do in the book. And I think that it kind of takes Tigris out of that domestic feeling of what you're describing in the book and kind of shows them as this potential of like what you said, what they could have been together. Snow lands on top in a better way.
Yeah, I also love, I just think it's cute. I love the scene in the movie at the very beginning when she is talking about how nice he looks and is like, oh, Coriolanus Snow, future president of Panem.
Hmm.
I love that they gave that to Tigris. I just think it's like a cute little moment between the two of them.
Yeah, I think it's so sweet. And it's so similar to the book too, like the conversations
Hmm.
about the shirt and fixing
Yeah.
up the shirt for him. I think that's another sweet moment is just her excitement behind that and the care that she takes in Coriolanus, which is really special too, which makes me just love her character so much.
I love the character of Tigris much more now after seeing Hunter in the role and seeing someone
Hmm.
actually embody that character and how well she acted and portrayed the character. Hunter really adds a lot to Tigris, I think.
And I would argue that she does have a lot of quotes in the book too that kind of emphasize this care for Lucy Gray that kind of steer Coriolanus to think against his own thoughts. She talks about how terrified Lucy Gray is, like her being just a girl. That happens in both the book and the movie. She justifies that like over and over again, which I think makes her not only defend Lucy Gray, but defend the tributes in a way that Coriolanus should have been.
You know, there were a couple of moments reading though too that you can still tell that she is capital and was
Mhm.
raised in the capital. There was a part where Corio is talking about how the tributes don't have food, and a lot of them might have died before even going into the arena. And she makes a comment like, well, that's not fair. That's like them giving you a science experiment project with broken equipment. And I was like, whoa,
Mm,
what? Like,
okay.
just the way that they talk about the tributes and the districts, like I think that's just, it's still clear that's kind of ingrained in her as well, even though she does have a lot more compassion for the tributes and the districts.
My brain is just definitely holding on to the movie right now because Emily, I am just holding off my post ballad first read. Like I haven't read ballad since the movie came out, and I'm
Mm.
really holding on to that. Like I want to hold on to how I used to perceive the book. And I don't want to go back and like erase that. And so I'm just having such a hard time. This conversation is it's just so interesting because you're kind of justifying the book aspect of her, and I feel like I'm more so seeing like the movie side of her, which
But
they
there were
completely
parts in the
change.
movie that I thought were really good, like that scene after the arena. I
Yeah.
think elevated. I think there are things that are I enjoy more in the book and more in the movie, which
Hmm.
is just for any adaptation.
And we have to talk about the final line that she has in the movie. You
Hmm.
look like your father, Coriolanus. That part, Hunter does an incredible job. It's just so cold and it's a stab to the heart. Like you
But
feel,
not to Corio. He
yeah.
looks so
He's
happy
like,
after she says
he's like,
that.
thank you. But
He's
like
like,
everyone else.
great, perfect. We're right where we need to be.
And then he has his one shot where he has his like nice jacket on in the Capitol, you know, but
Looking fabulous in his new suit.
oh yes, absolutely. That part in the movie, oh, so good.
Okay, what about like book moments? Is there anything different in the book that didn't make it into the movie that we really like for Tigris? I definitely have one.
I like one line from page 87 in Ballad. She says, "Then be kind, Corio, and try not to look down on people who had to choose between death and disgrace."
Okay, I had two, and actually that was one of them.
And I think because you kind of talked about it at the beginning of the episode, Coriolanus paints her as somebody who can be abused because she is just so compassionate, so naive, and so giving, that people take advantage of her. And it gives us a look into that world of the capital using and abusing young people. And it's really, really sad because Coriolanus views her as less than because she had to do what she had to do to survive for his
Mhm.
survival as well.
He ends up the same way,
Hmm.
doing whatever he needs to do to survive. I don't understand how he can be judgmental about that.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite moment from the book that I wish we would have gotten in the movie when he has to become a peacekeeper and he goes back home and has that moment with the grandmam and Tigris. He comes home is like bursts into tears and Tigris helps him pack and then they go up to the roof. And there's not really like a conversation or anything, but it's just a sad and sweet moment of them being together, being on the roof, which has more meaning in the books.
It's just so sweet. I just love her character so much.
She's just always giving. She's just
Hmm.
always doing good for people.
Hmm.
It's so sad what ends up
It
happening.
reminds me of like a Prim type figure where she's just so giving and selfless and kind to the point that somebody could take advantage of it. I just think that's the situation that she grew up in, and she grew up in the capital and she grew up with snow, and it led to her downfall, which is really sad, which I would love to read about. Suzanne, please. But
Yeah. I wonder in the book if, because the movie gives us that final moment of you look just like your father, which isn't in the book. And
mhm.
I feel like it maybe could change things a little bit. She might actually kind of go along with things for a while. I mean, who knows when they actually have their falling out? It seems like it's not until later in her life. So I don't know. I mean, maybe she's worried even in like the movie canon and still ends up kind of going along with things. I just wish we knew. I want to know what happens, what the timeline is when she gets in contact with Plutarch. I want to know all about Plutarch.
Yeah, I want to know everything about that. I want to know everything about the underground like rebel thing going on in the capital.
When does she get the whiskers,
Yeah. These are the questions.
That's one thing that like always stood out to me before we had any movies, like that the
Mhm.
Capitol people had whiskers. I remember when me and my sister did like a little tribute interview video that I forced her to do. She like
Oh my
drew on
gosh.
whiskers, like for some reason that was a very Capitol thing.
Aw. Well, we talked a lot about Tigris and we mentioned Hunter, but like I kind of want to talk about some of Hunter's red carpet looks a little
They
bit
were all
too.
great.
They were stunning. Like my favorite though had to be the Berlin premiere outfit. That was
With
it. The
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 hands.
bodysuit. Yes. Yes, I loved
she
it.
she
It
had
was
no
so
access to her
cool.
hands.
It was so cool though. She looked awesome. It gave me like Zendaya for Dune vibes, and like the bodysuit.
Mhm. That was so funny though when she went up for the Q&A and then had to hold like the microphone. She was like, I didn't know I was gonna have to hold anything. I can't.
So funny. She's so cute.
I loved her New York premiere outfit. It felt very Effie-esque to me with like the flowers that were
That
like
was my second
shooting out of
favorite.
it. That was definitely my favorite by far. I liked the gold one as well. I wish for that premiere in London they had all done gold. I think
Yes.
that would have been cool, but it was only her and Josh that did cold.
I didn't like Josh's suit that much. I don't know.
I mean, suits can be just kind of boring in
Yeah,
general, honestly.
you know, Tom looks good in a suit though. Hey, Tom.
And then when he takes off his
In yeah, his black
what's
tank
that?
top. What was
Like, let me
that?
just take off my shirt and have a tank top on the
That
red
was not
carpet.
okay. That was so funny.
I'm sad I didn't witness that with my own eyes.
I know, same. Same. Okay, and then should we talk about our headcanons? Do you have any fun headcanons for Tigris?
I don't have any different than I haven't mentioned in like our Plutarch episode. I feel like I talked about it a little bit, like at what point she joined the underground. And I'm not very good at headcanons, honestly. So I'm excited to hear yours.
This one isn't mine. I like scoured Reddit. Like there
Okay,
wasn't
good,
too
good.
many. There wasn't too many that were like absurd to me. I like to pick out like crazy ones, but this one involves Finnick. So this one involves Tigris being Finnick's stylist and like
Oh,
finding out what's happening, unfortunately, to Finnick, behind the scenes. Same thing has happened to her. So she confides in him and tells him about the rebellion. And that's how Finnick gets involved with the rebellion.
wait, that makes so much sense. I kind of
But like,
love
isn't it
that. I
crazy?
feel like that checks out like timeline wise as well. Like maybe that's when she kind of stopped being a stylist. I always kind of thought it was around Haymitch's games that she
Ooh,
would have joined the rebellion, but I mean, who knows? I
yeah.
I just hope that there's a cool kind of story to all of that and that we get to
Hmm.
find it out. Oh, I love that. That's a cool timeline and character. Can we talk about her eating raw meat?
Oh
Like
my God.
I don't I don't understand.
Yeah. I don't understand that at all. And it
I don't
then kind of
understand why
goes
she
to my
eats raw meat in ballad.
it goes to the theory that she chooses to do these surgeries to look like a cat. Like those go hand in hand to me.
Well, her name's Tigris,
Her
which is
name's
Latin for
Tigris.
tiger.
And like she loves raw meat. I don't know. There's something about it. Like,
We're as confused as Katniss because Katniss even asked the question, like,
yeah.
was she named Tigris first and then started like eating raw meat and getting these surgeries, or did it happen the other way?
Hmm.
Like Suzanne, what she gives us so many questions and no answers at all.
I know, which I
I feel like she
wonder,
just made it more confusing.
yeah, because it's such a niche little thing to have
It's a
about
niche
yourself.
thing, yeah.
A niche little quirk to love to eat raw meat. She like knows how to cook is the thing.
She's like so tired of the domestic stuff.
It's
She's like,
sushi.
I can't do this anymore. Just
Oh my God.
raw meat.
Yeah. Yeah, her
There's
new
got to be
deli
some
meat.
trauma there.
There's gotta be. I don't know what it is. That's what I want to know. Everyone, share with us why you think that Tigris eats raw meat. That's like really, I don't need another book. I just need Suzanne to answer that question.
I can understand maybe there are some trauma related to food because of the war and
Yeah,
like
but
not
she's always
having
had
food,
access to,
but it's a very specific, interesting thing. You could cook the food, like you could
yeah.
cook the meat. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Mhm. Like she's always had access to a kitchen.
I guess I could understand if it was like she likes to eat like plain lima beans or something in her old age because it reminds her of before Corio was president and like when she was a child, even though it was during terrible times in the war or something.
Hmm.
But the raw meat thing, I don't get.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make the trauma part doesn't make sense, but I see what you're saying. Like it has to be
I know I keep trying to like connect the
to
pieces.
justify. Like,
Like
what is it?
what is it?
I love her character, but she doesn't make any sense. Which is why I'm hopeful for another book, Suzanne. We have to manifest it.
I'm hopeful for another book if it's the right book. I'd
Hmm.
be wary a little bit, but if we do get more answers about Tigris and Plutarch, especially, like, give me some of that. Give me more of that. Nothing else off the wall, please.
Well, let us know why you think Tigris eats raw meat, and let us know your other headcanons for Tigris.
Please, yes.
Please. And we'll see you next month. As you guys have seen, we're now doing episodes once a month, so stay tuned for that, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.